Today, we're diving into a classic short story that I think is just fantastic, Guy de Maupassant's The Necklace. It's one of those tales that really sticks with you. It's all about desire, what's real versus what we show the world, and how one single choice can have these huge, devastating consequences. So let's get into it and see how one little decision can completely change a life. So think about this question for a second. How could one perfect night, just one, cost someone 10 years of their life? It sounds wild, right? Maybe even impossible. But for the main character in our story, that's exactly what happens. One single evening of feeling like a queen is going to cost her a whole decade of hardship. Let's find out how.
All right, so first things first, we need to meet the woman at the very center of this whole mess, Mathilde Loisel. Now, she's described as being pretty and charming, but here's the thing. She is deeply, profoundly unhappy with her life.
Now, what's really important here is that word incessantly. This wasn't just, having a bad day or being in a bad mood. For Mathilde, this suffering was constant. It was 24/7. She truly believed that she was the victim of some kind of cosmic mistake, that she was born into a life far, far below the one she actually deserved.
And this slide just perfectly shows the huge gap between her dreams and her reality. I mean, in her head, she's surrounded by pure luxury, elegant dinners, shining silverware, amazing food. But what's her actual life like? Well, it's shabby walls, worn-out chairs, and a simple dinner. And it's this constant clash that just eats away at her.
And then you've got her husband. He's a simple guy, a clerk, and he is perfectly happy with their life. He comes home from work, sees a pot pie on the table, and he's genuinely thrilled. His contentment just makes her misery stand out even more. He sees a comfortable home. She sees a prison. So into this quiet, unhappy life, something happens. An opportunity arrives. But for Mathilde, what should be this amazing, joyous moment, it quickly turns into a full-blown crisis. Her husband comes home one night, just buzzing with excitement. He's managed to get a super exclusive invitation to a huge party. This is it, a chance for her to be part of the world she's always dreamed of. But Mathilde's reaction? It's not joy. It's tears. Why? She just wails. "What do you want me to wear?" to something like that. Now, her husband, he's crushed by her reaction, but he just wants to make her happy. He asks her, okay, how much would a simple, nice dress cost? She thinks for a moment and names a price, 400 francs. And he agrees. But you have to understand, this wasn't just spare change. It was the exact amount of money he had been carefully saving to buy himself a hunting gun. He gives up his dream for hers. But, of course, even with the perfect dress, it's not enough. A new problem pops up. As the night of the ball gets closer, Mathilde is sad and anxious all over again. She feels like just a pretty dress isn't enough to fit in with all the rich women. She's going to look poor. She needs jewelry. She complains that there's nothing more humiliating than looking shabby next to all these wealthy people. Her husband, who's always the problem solver, comes up with a pretty brilliant idea. Hey, why don't you borrow something from your rich friend, Madame Forestier? And suddenly, Mathilde's face just lights up. Of course! Why didn't she think of that? So the very next day, she goes over to her friend's house, and Madame Forestier brings out this huge jewelry case. Mathilde tries on a few things, but nothing feels quite right. And then she spots it. Tucked away in a black satin box is a superb necklace of diamonds. Her hands are literally trembling as she puts it on. She's just ecstatic. This is the one. Okay, so the dress is bought, the necklace is borrowed, the night of the ball finally arrives. And for one short, shining moment, Mathilde Loisel's life is everything she has ever wanted it to be. And oh, what a night it was. She was the absolute star of the show. Prettier than anyone, more elegant, more graceful. She was just, as the story says, intoxicated with pleasure, dancing like crazy, completely lost in the victory of her own beauty. Every single man there noticed her, asked who she was, wanted to be introduced. This was her fantasy come to life. They finally leave the party around 4 in the morning. They get back to their apartment, and she stands in front of the mirror, just wanting one last look at herself in all her glory. And then, in a single heartbeat, that triumph turns to pure terror. The necklace, it's gone. It's just absolute panic. They search everywhere, in the folds of her dress, her cloak, her pockets. Nothing. Her husband, without even stopping to rest, throws his clothes back on and runs out into the cold night to retrace every single step they took home. He gets back at 7 in the morning, pale, exhausted. He found nothing. So that one night of triumph, it's over. And now begins a whole decade of despair. Their pride just won't let them tell the truth, so they decide they have to replace the necklace. And the cost? Well, it's going to be huge. So, after a week of searching with no luck, they have to face this horrifying reality. They have to buy a new one. They find a replacement that looks exactly the same. The price? 36,000 francs. Her husband had about 18,000 from an inheritance. For the other half, they would have to borrow from everyone and anyone they could. And so they began what the story calls the horrible life of necessity. They got rid of their maid, they moved into a tiny little apartment in an attic. Matilda learned how to do the odious work of a kitchen, scrubbing floors, washing dishes until her hands were raw. Meanwhile, her husband worked extra hours every night, copying manuscripts just to make a few extra cents a page, and this life went on for 10 years. And the effect this labor has on her is just profound. I mean, think about the difference here. The delicate woman who dreamed of luxuries is completely gone. In her place is a strong, hard woman, the crude woman of the poor household. Her hands are red, her hair is a mess, but you know what? She did her part. She played it heroically. And the debt was finally paid. So 10 long years have passed. The debt is finally settled. One Sunday, Mathilda's just out for a walk, and a chance encounter is about to reveal a truth that's even more shocking than the decade of hardship she just went through. She sees Madame Forestier, and after 10 years of hard labor have aged Mathilda so much, her friend looks, well, she looks like no time has passed. Still young, still beautiful, still charming. And Mathilda feels something. She decides that now that the debt is paid, she can finally tell her the truth. I mean, why not? At first, Madame Forestier doesn't even recognize this rough, aged woman. When Mathilde finally says who she is, her friend is completely stunned. So Mathilde explains everything, losing the necklace, buying the replacement, the crushing debt. And she ends her story with a smile of proud and simple joy. Her ordeal is over. Her honor is restored. But Madame Forestier doesn't seem to share her joy. She's touched, for sure, but she also looks horrified. She takes Mathilde's hands, and with this voice full of disbelief, she asks a question that is about to unravel Mathilde's entire world. And there it is. The final, soul-crushing twist. The necklace, the one she sacrificed 10 years of her life for, the object that ruined her youth and threw her and her husband into poverty. It was a fake. It was costume jewelry, worth, at most, 500 francs, not 36,000. All of it, the debt, the labor, the suffering, was for absolutely nothing. And the story just leaves us hanging with this powerful question. Think about it. A tiny moment of pride, a simple fear of telling the truth, and it led to a decade of ruin. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many of the big changes in our own lives really just hinge on such small, tiny moments?